Suksabite, Yakwe, Hola, and hey y'all. I'm Simone Cottrell, she, her, and yet, and I come to you from Northwest Arkansas region of the Ozarks, the ancestral homelands of the Quapaw, Caddo, and Osage peoples. And before I introduce our very amazing guests this afternoon, there is some obligatory language that I have signed my first child away to have to read, and I will not receive. My first child is an English bulldog, and I love Coco very, very much. So this is a great time. It'll take maybe less than 5 minutes, but this is a great time to get very comfortable with your seat, get to know your neighbor, get your phone out if you want to take some pictures of what you'll see ahead. And hopefully I'll go through this as painlessly as possible. Can you hear me okay in the back here? Are we good? Okay. The Williams family is here. Hi guys. Oh, they're very cool. Okay. All right. Welcome to the 2023 Smithsonian Folklife Festival. For over 50 years, the festival has convened people on the National Mall to explore, exchange, and engage the power of culture and creativity in our lives today. This year, our two programs are the Ozarks, Faces and Facets of the Region, Creative Encounters, Living Religions in the U.S., which you can find right across the mall. Add your festival stories to ours on social media with the hashtag 2023Folklife. The Smithsonian Folklife Festival is produced by the Center for Folklife and Cultural Heritage and presented in partnership with the National Park Service. This festival is made possible by people like you. Visit festival.si.edu to join our community of contributors. We also receive federally appropriated funds, Smithsonian Trust funds, contributions from governments, businesses, foundations, and individuals, in-kind assistance, and food reporting and craft sales. The festival strives to maintain an accessible and inclusive environment for visitors of all abilities. If you are in need of accessible seating options or assistive listening during this presentation, please see our venue manager volunteer wearing an Ask Me button. And that's Tanya, right over here. We love Tanya. Let's see, detailed accessibility of information about all of our festival accessibility services, including ASL interpretation, audio description, real-time captioning, and a variety of other services can be found on our festival website or by visiting the information booth, which is that way near the Experience Fayetteville van. Promotional support is provided by the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority and Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Area Authority. The Ozarks program is produced in partnership with Missouri State University. The program is supported in part by Missouri State University, I messed this up, I'm gonna start all over again. The program is supported in part by Missouri State University, Missouri Division of Tourism, Arkansas Tourism, University of Arkansas, Experience Fayetteville, Wingate Foundation, Committee of 100 for the Ozark Folk Center, Ozark Beer Company, Crystal Bridges Arts and Social Impact Accelerator Partnership, and the Missouri Folk Arts Program. The program received federal support from the Latino Initiatives Pool, administered by the National Museum of the American Latino, the Asian Pacific American Initiatives Pool, administered by the Smithsonian Asian Pacific American Center, and the Smithsonian American Women's History Initiative Pool. In-kind support comes from Montana Cans and Mountain Valley Spring Water. Festival hours are 11 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. with special events taking place most evenings beginning at 6 p.m. And side note, there is a community square dance at 8:30 at the Riesler stage. Wear your best shoes. The most up-to-date information on schedules, performers, and more is available at our website, one more again, festival.si.edu. So, I am very, very happy to be on this stage one last time with some dear friends, Xue Lee and Mama Shoua Vue. And I'm just going to speak a little bit about them, then pass the mic. And so Xue Lee is a certified career and life transformation coach who has been living in Gentry, Arkansas for the last 19 years. She is also the co-owner of Happily Clucking Acres with her family. Xue has over 10 years of experience in higher education, and she uses her platform to teach about Hmong culture. And Xue did something really cool recently with Hmong culture, and I'm going to let her talk about it for just a little bit before I talk about her mama.
Okay. I can hear myself, so that means that y'all most likely can hear me too. So, what I did for the very first time in Northwest Arkansas was I was a part of this nonprofit called Interform, and they hosted their very first arts and fashion biennial program that lasted for the whole month of June. It was a collaboration with a local curator that I highlighted local Hmong textiles and embroidery, and I showcased traditional Hmong clothing as well as traditional Hmong arts, and whether it was like traditional singing or writing. And then the most important thing was I learned how to sew. So Interform teaches sewing classes for underserved communities as well as anyone who wants to learn how to sew. And part of the program is when the students go through it, they are sewing 2 outfits. Every year they host a 3-day annual NWA Fashion Week where they bring in fashion designers from the state of Arkansas as well as local designers, and they have models that wear the students' outfits and walks down the runway. So I created my first Hmong inspired outfit, and a model walked in it down the runway. The other outfit I showcased was in an exhibit. So that's very like my first time doing something like this, but it really has inspired me to continue doing that, to not only showcase my heritage, but bring in Hmong inspired clothing to mainstream fashion.
Thank you so much, Sue. And the beautiful woman to Sue's right is the reason why we are on this stage today. And her...
Did you hear her? Okay. She said, "Good evening, hello, good evening." That's what she, that's Hmong.
Yeah, and Shoua Vue, its earliest experiences with agricultural farming started in Laos as part of the matriarchal line of sharing knowledge. She grew up learning how to plant rice and corn in the northern mountains of Laos, particularly prior to the 1980s, in a place called Sing Quang province. And for Mama Shoua, her village was called Dong Xia, which is called High Mountain, so moving from one mountain in Laos to another mountainous region in the Ozarks. In addition to rice and corn, Mama Shoua also was taught how to grow and harvest opium fields as a means of generating income. And so when arriving to the U.S. in 1980, Shoua always had a garden in the backyard for the family as a needs of necessity and feeding her family here in the States. And she also was able to rent land to others to garden. And Mama Shoua has learned how to use various herbal plants for medicinal use since the age of 13 years old. And I cannot wait for you to share what you're cooking today. So go ahead and take it, Mom.
Okay, thank you for everybody to watching me to do today. So I making maybe something very surprise for you. And
So today, my mom is going to be featuring a traditional Hmong dish that is cooked every year, usually in the fall time, and it is a very popular dish called pig stew, slow-cooked pig stew with mustard greens. This is a dish that can be frozen and stored for to heat up later, and so that's why when the Hmong families they make this, they make it in a bulk quantity. So we're going to have her start and share how you make it.
các hạt cho tia cho nó mà yo chụp hai của bé nhau bé tết trời cái bé cho bé châu là yo mà xong chia cái bé tuổi con mùa mà bé chỗ tàu cho cái tàu theo lúc tàu hậu cho là của bé sủ cái trâu yo chế lên nó họ rồi dùng bà đi cái nhưng mà cháu trâu tàu trò yo cho phải lúc chế xong là của tôi nó所以เขาnói yo qua chạy cái tàu qua nè qua chạy cái tàu qua một đứa một sống tàu cái chủ mua hậu cái sờ cho rong chua nó cho chỉ nó cũng có bí qua của nó cái tàu qua ai chậm.
Okay, so my mom shared that back in Laos, this was a very popular dish around New Year's and for the to celebrate the New Year rice harvest as well as welcoming the new year. And in each family they would butcher a pig, a whole pig, and what usually happens is to the body of the pigs they would cut it up and cook it and share it with the whole village. So most of the time what what was left over was usually the pig's head and the pig's feet. And that's where they decided, okay, what do we do with these leftover parts? Well, pig stew is what we use those parts for, because the meat is something that they can store for quite some time and make it in a big batch too.
Thì ý dạng là sẽ đời nó ta là chúa đây và nó cho là bé muốn ký và kiểm tra rồi bé tàu kiểm tra cho là ký số nó rồi thì sẵn cái tàu để đó tao hậu tên là gì nó và giờ bé chỉ mua nó giờ bé chỉ mua túi dòng bé số số gì là chừng trong nó nè giờ bé chỉ mua cả xe nó ký và kiểm tra tàu thì bé và kiểm tra cho là ký số nó.
So in Laos, because there wasn't any access to refrigerators, and when we butcher a pig, because meat was such out of the norm circumstances that it was for special occasions that we really wanted to make the most out of everything, and with the pig's feet and even the fatty parts that were left over that wasn't made into the community dishes, we would combine it, and we would be able to not only make make it into this pig stew, but some of the parts we would deep fry it to get the oil, like the fatty oil, and we save the fatty oil for additional cooking use. And so that way we were making the most out of everything. These batches of food would last anywhere from a week to a couple of weeks, and that really made a significant difference in terms of providing family for those special meals that you really don't eat on an everyday basis. Okay. So as you can see, my mom has already put the parts of the meat into the skillet and iron skillet, and she just recently added the mustard green. This is something that also takes a long time, or I wouldn't say an unusually long time to make, but because it takes quite some time to really soften the meat, especially the pig's feet part of it, we use it in a slow cooker that my mom has been doing since Okay. So today at 1 o'clock, she already started putting the meat into a slow cooker, and she's been slowly cooking, letting the meat soften through that time. She has another portion that isn't completely soft, and that's where we have it in the iron skillet to even, to show as a demonstration too.
Nhưng lợi nhiệt nó mua chế qua đi kia còn đấy do việc lợi chỉ nhiệt nó mua nhiệt nó có mua chỉ cho sự chế của còn nói giờ hiện tại ít liệu mà đi tiền mua của đi trả tiếp đã chỉ mua họ trong đi trả.
Okay. So my mom is going to actually be able to show you the difference between the several hours of letting the pigs the pork in the slow cooker cook. I do apologize. I think it's the humidity that's getting to my brain, so my brain is okay, let's talk. So bear with me. And then the one that is in the iron skillet right now, it's not been in the slow cooker as long, but you can taste the difference if you just kind of leave it in the slow cooker versus doing it on the stove top too. This also in the bowl is sticky rice. This is we eat pretty much every single meal there's going to be rice. Whether it's just jasmine rice to sticky rice, and sticky rice is a good combination for this dish to balance out the flavor. It is very rich and fatty too, but I think what I really love about this, because it is a part of my childhood growing up eating this in the fall and winter, is that it's got this tender taste with the mustard green that really gives it like a chicken noodle soup feeling on a winter's day. So, เนี่ยก็ผมว่าชีไฮจีว่า
kia thì bé nhau bé chúng tôi nhau bé tua ít thôi nhau mà kể bé tàu cho bé nhưng mà cho tàu trận cờ rong kể bé tàu cho tàu cho tiền tàu tàu hậu kể bé nhưng mà tua ít là thì là bé xuống nó ta chỉ bé chỉ xeo rong chúa nhưng bé chỉ mua còn mua nhưng nhẹ nó cho bé dùng thóc là bé trâu tàu bé nhẹ trâu chỉ rồi bé mua bé xong chỉ rồi tàu được họ tiền bé những nó bỏ tàu để bé nó cái mình cho xin à bé chỉ mua cái đi tết rồi mà bé nó cái mình làm cho mỏ cho họ tàu chấp lời sư để chỉ mua cái là bé nó bỏ của sư là bé nó đi được thì giờ tụi nhu thì họ tàu cho bắt xa cho là chờ tàu cho bắt xa nó tha còn một thì bé tàu mất chờ sâu sâu thì nó sâu thì tàu sư chẳng ai mất hàng còn của thì mất chẳng ai cho là
So there is a variation to this dish as well. So if the family have to butcher a cow, we would also use the similar parts. We also use like the skin of the cow as well to mix it. The difference between using the beef versus the pork, the beef, we don't put the mustard green. It's more of just like the meat that we slow cook it. And then we also would add, instead of like the mustard green, we can sometimes add sour bamboo to the beef one. So it tastes very similar, but it's a different version with the beef versus the pork. The other aspect in terms of how we have been, this is like a long history, like this is like an ancestral dish that we have had for many years throughout our time in Southeast Asia, and even when we were back in China. And the really interesting aspect of these dishes is that even though we're making it in bulk amounts, it is not something that when we make it like when we're eating dinner, we eat a good portion. We're very frugal with the meat because it's definitely like once in a while treat. So what will happen is the family will portion it to where the meat is like a smaller offering for each meal, and the family members eat more of the rice. So a lot of eating more rice and then like little parts of the pig stew or the beef stew. So that way they can like spread it out. ก็จอยก็ม้วนจอหูจังไงก็ต่อจออาชีเที่ยวเดี๋ยวสมัยI know เจก็ตอนเจอุ้งนอเที่ยวอย่างก็ไอ้ผมว่าอาชีไอ้เชื่อเจ Okay, so the other seasoning, you're wondering like, okay, what is in the seasoning in the pork? Well, basically it's just salt. In Laos, there was only salt as a way of flavoring dishes, and so this is what she has made today with seasoning the meat as well as the mustard green in that dish. In the States here, we also add ginger. It's a preference. If you like ginger, you can add it to the pig stew or the beef stew as well too. So while my mom's doing that, I'm going to also have Simone share a little bit of the history too.
Hi, I'm here to give some context. You might be wondering, how did the Hmong people show up into the Ozarks? Well, I will tell you. But before then, I failed to tell you something before about some of the rules that we have here. Rule number 1. We cannot give you food samples, but we can give you free smells. So at the end, we can like wave the broth in your face and you'll just take a good deep whiff of it and then ask some brilliant questions to Mama Shoe later. And if you're liking what you're seeing here being cooked, just know that on the there's QR codes in the back of all of these chairs. And you can, QR code, girl, the humidity's getting to my brain too, dang. So you can use your phone and look up all the recipes that are available from both of the festivals that are happening these last 2 weeks. And also, if you're needing help seeing what Mama's doing, a mirror. If you look straight into the mirror, you'll see everything happening here. I steer a little bit too hard and I get a little dizzy, so take breaks every once in a while. So something that just occurred to me while I was facilitating a conversation called a very existential question: who is an Ozarker? I realized that the first time the Smithsonian Folklife Festival had the Ozarks was in 1970, right? And so this would be the first time in 2023 that Southeast Asians would be represented in the Ozarks, because history in the 1970s was not kind to us, and we'll get into that real quick. And so back, how many of you remember 1975? Fantastic. What do you remember from 1975? Fall of Saigon, absolutely. Vietnam War ended with the fall of Saigon. Anything else? Who was your favorite band in 1975? The Jones? Oh, so 1975 also was for the Khmer people, the Cambodians, which I'm a part of, the start, and I use that loosely, the start of the Khmer Rouge, 1975 to 1979. And so there were 4 waves of diasporic immigration that was coming to the United States. In 1975, for the Ozarks, the first wave, there were 4 military bases, one of them being Fort Chaffee. Fort Chaffee in 1975 opened up their doors for 50,000 Southeast Asian refugees to come in. And so that was the first wave, and then 3 waves came later through the 1990s. And so imagine 50,000 refugees coming in, mostly Vietnamese. They stay for an X amount of time. And then at some point they say, here's between $300 and $500, go forth and prosper. Cool. Awesome. We have no mental health services. We have no systems built for us to actually do that. So the first thing that most refugees, at least for us, had to do was okay, what geographically looks like our home, right, in order for us to survive. And so my people, river people, my people went to the Gulf Coast. But some folks stayed in the Ozarks because of the mountains being there. And so they started getting their families there. It was very slow. But around the 1980s, 1990s, whoa buddy, here comes poultry industry, and they need laborers. So where did those laborers come from? So Hmong families came, a lot of immigration from Mexico and currently El Salvador and Guatemala make up most of the labor industry in Springdale, Arkansas. And for Sue's family and Mama Shoua, they live out in Gentry, Arkansas on a 40-acre farm, and you're chicken breeders. But you also have, imagine 3 of these tents going that way. And that is their garden. It's amazing. I think there's more to it too. There's more on the farm as well.
Yes, there are gardens outside. There's gardens in 2 greenhouses with tons and tons of variation of herbal plants that my mom uses for medicinal purposes. Everything that we grow is not only for personal consumption, but we also sell at the farmers market. And whatever is left over, it is something that we share amongst our community as well. So whenever we have big gatherings, whether it's for weddings or baby blessing ceremonies or shaman ceremonies, a lot of the time the women who are the gardeners of the family, they will bring their share of different vegetables, and then we also share those with the other families too. And that's a means of like making these big feasts really cost friendly, because a lot of the produce is already grown, and we don't have to go to Walmart and buy it all out from them. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you go to either the Washington County or Benton County farmers markets, most of the agricultural producers there will be from the Hmong community. And they also grow the most beautiful flowers in northwest Arkansas. So just I think like the Lee family has a pretty active Facebook page that you can follow what they do there. And speaking of social media, I just need to also point this out that we have a social media influencer amongst us on stage. It is neither myself nor Sue, and it's Mama Shoua. So you might see this little stand over there, and Mama Shoua has been live streaming these last 2 weeks all the way around the world. She is quite famous in Laos, California, Minnesota, France, any other place, the North Pole, I don't know. And so if the camera is pointed at you, I'm sure the people of her community would love to say hello, and later when we open up for questions and answers, speak with your full chest so they can hear you all the way there. We've got some dishes in front of us now. Would you like to speak about it?
So what my mom has plated is on the left here, I believe. It is the skillet, the iron skillet of the pig stew that she cooked. Mà tôi cho nói có bao nhiêu cho hậu lúa slow cooker li na, tôi cho hắn này
của chị trong họ chị họ luôn nó thì cái qua họ luôn nó sẽ
okay.
qua trong họ luôn nó sẽ thì cái việc họ nói với họ nó sẽ để sẽ tới là thì nó sẽ nó tới rồi đấy sau này bọn tôi nó đi bé đó là họ nói là ít họ và cá cha đồ bé luôn nè bé qua tàu trong cái nó mà chứ mỗi đồ ít đâu chị cho nhà thì ô cái tàu họ cá cha lại nó sẽ chị lâu họ nói là lâu họ cá cha lại thì bé chơi trong tủ rồi bé lúc chọc lại nó sẽ
Okay, so and what my mom shared, and it was a misunderstanding on my part. I thought we had a slow cooker here on site or one of those Instapot, but she actually did not have that. So when she started cooking the pig's feet earlier this afternoon at 1 o'clock, it was in this pot. So it's been slow cooking, like stewing in the pot. And what it consists in this dish that's been slow cooking is 4 of the pig's feet, the front and the hind legs. You're probably thinking, pig's feet? I'm like, how is that even considered like delicious or, even wanting to eat that? But in our culture, it is like the most tender way of eating the feet, is because there's a certain taste to it that's really tender, really juicy. It's even considered in Hmong families that if someone got a foot or both of them or got to eat, that was a gift. That's like a loving endearment, like from the chef to that person, and that person is really lucky to get that part. So this dish that I'm pointing to is the slow cooking since 1 o'clock. So that's like about the last three and a half, almost 4 hours. The one over here is not as tender. It's got more of like the pork belly mixed with it too, the mustard green. This one có một chị cho hổ cho anh clear thế.
No, chỉ một clear mua rốt chuột để mà sờ cầu xin.
Okay, so there is mustard green in there.
Muốn chị thì muốn cho sâu thì trâu nè, mong rau nè.
Okay, so this one she added salt as well as seasoning called vegetable seasoning. And vegetable seasoning is a packet that you can go to the Asian stores and actually get it. It actually says vegetable seasoning. The reason why she added is it's a substitution of MSG. When we came to the US and we discovered MSG, it was like, wow, like the best thing like sliced bread, and so we added a lot of MSG to our dishes. Over the years, for health conscious reason, we started like taking out the MSG, and the vegetable seasoning packet has a similar taste of what MSG is, but healthier. So this one has the vegetable seasoning and salt and the mustard green. Because it's slow cooked for so long, the mustard green is definitely like shriveled and really melded with the meat. And then here, of course, you see more of the mustard green in the crispier form with the pork belly.
ก็เพียเดียจะน้องมาที่จะมาในชิ้นเดียวน้องกับน้องในเดียวน้องส่งมาซื้อเก๋ก็บอกอีจะส่งมาอีจะส่งมาเก๋ตัวเดียวน้องจะส่งมาเก๋น้องจะมาหาตัวเดียวน้องจะมุ่งเก๋ที่ต่อจากน้อง
Okay, so in terms of tenderness of the dishes, it is preference. Some people prefer it really slow cooked, tender. Like it's also like it comes apart easily. Some people like it more like a skillet where it's somewhat tender but still like has a crunch to it. And so again, when you make this, it's a preference. This one just has the salt, the mustard green, and the pork belly in it. Simone?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk about New Year's. It's one of the largest gatherings of Hmong people in Arkansas, and because the Ozarks is historically from the times of First Nations people has been a migratory space. One of the things that I love about that tradition in the Ozarks with the Hmong people is about their New Year's and how they move from Arkansas to Oklahoma to Kansas to Missouri, talking about or celebrating their New Year's. And wondering if you could talk a little bit more about that.
Yes, so even though today is July 8th, we have already set our New Year date for our Arkansas celebration, our Arkansas Hmong celebration, which will be October 14th and 15th of this year. We celebrate our New Year in October because it allows us to be able to be outdoor, host it as an outdoor event. In Laos, it was an outdoor event, and in Laos, the difference is they celebrated the New Year in the month of December, usually towards the end of November or the beginning of December, and the full month of December is just every single day celebrating the New Year. So, the reason for that is because, I've had folks like, well, what are your holidays that you celebrate? New Year. That's about it. And so the time is not only celebrating the finishing of the rice harvest that we have worked really hard to grow and be able to store up for the upcoming year and have as a supply for food, but it also is the time to welcome a brand new year and start fresh and clean. If the previous year was a hard one, we're looking to celebrate a more blessed New Year, and we ask our ancestors too. So during that time, we also have like shamans, and the men of the household will also hold a feast for our deceased loved ones and our ancestors to come back and share a New Year's meal with us. And because we're offering this New Year's meal for them, we also ask them to bless us, our family, protect our family from harm, help us with a prosperous New Year and whatever endeavors that we're pursuing, that we may be, we may be prosperous with that. So a lot of our food is not just shared amongst our family, our immediate family, it's shared with our extended family, our relatives, our community, our members of the community, and then also with our ancestors and our deceased loved ones. So it's a very, there's also like that ritualistic, the spiritual ritual to the cooking and the sharing of our meal.
Yeah, and just to emphasize again, if you want to book your tickets now from Washington to XNA Airport, that New Year's location is Summer, Arkansas, and it's October 14th and 15th. Is that what you said?
It's a Saturday and Sunday. I just remember seeing it posted on the Hmong Association. I'm like, oh, it's only June and they already got the New Year date set. Well, isn't that awesome?
And you'll have like vendors upon, like you're driving and it's like, it can't be out here in the middle of nowhere. It can't. Then all of a sudden, the land clears and you see thousands of cars and lots of folks in beautiful Hmong clothing, and there's activity happening. There's vendors as far as the eye can see. There's soccer. There's cultural presentations. I think there's a pageant. And if you fancy yourself a really good line dancer, I challenge you to go to a mini Hmong New Year. And that was some of the most complicated line dancing I have ever done in my life, but they also gave me a lot of free beer. So this was very fun content for them and their socials. So we are now going to answer any questions that we have from the audience. And please, again, speak with your full chest so the folks in Laos and France can hear you. Any questions? Yes, thank you.
I apologize, I should know this. I'm curious what language you're speaking, and if it's a dialect of Chinese, it sounds very tonal, so it's beautiful. Beautiful to hear you speak.
Thank you. So Hmong is a tonal language. It's very similar to Chinese. Our origin starts from northern China. It's very challenging to really identify the beginning of our origins, where we started from, because we didn't have our history was not recorded in written language. Our writing system was not formed until the 1950s, when a French missionary Catholic priest traveled to northern Laos and worked with the villagers, and using the Roman alphabet was able to establish a writing system then. All the information that we know about our ancestors and history has been passed on from generation to generation via oral storytelling. So because we are from China, our language is very similar to Chinese. It is not Chinese. So when we speak Hmong, the Chinese don't know what we're saying. But the other aspect too is today, to this day, the largest Hmong population in the world resides in southern China. Their language is a mixture of Hmong and Mandarin Chinese. So if I was to go to southern China and I speak Hmong to them, they wouldn't really understand what I'm saying either, and I would not understand what they were saying. I could catch maybe like a Hmong word here and there, but it is a tonal language.
Next question.
Okay, so New Year's, it doesn't come on a specific date each year. Do you know each year when it's going to be next year? Or, okay, the rice harvest is done, now we celebrate New Year's, or do you just pick a date, or how does it work?
That's a great question. I'm going to ask my mom, and she could also explain it too. Yeah, so
bé nhân bố trong họ hạt tiền bé nhân bố bị ta xé về tây lúa rò thì ít đó năng lỡ ba chỉ địa tiền lại play chỉ lại ta là ta chỉ hậu món tàu là bé số tiền tàu thì chỉ mua tây gì năng thì lỡ chỉ muốn năng ba thì lỡ chỉ tàu ta thì lỡ hạt tiền này tàu đi ý vì là ở vì ấy còn sợ đời ta lâu là thì mà non là thì cho xong thì những bố hạt tiền lúc chạy tới gì đó nó bố nó tức tiền thủ thứ nó tụi rõ thì cho sợ đời thì bé nó bé cho nó sợ đời ba cặp thì còn ta cho giả thì nó tới sợ đời là so chỉ sau ở đây chỉ sau ở đó chỉ là so đây nó tới sau ở đó chỉ sợ đời là nho thì cho tôi chọn xài là cái bó là nho hoặc cái shit hoặc cái gì đó.
bây giờ tụi em đã So to answer your question, in Laos, it is based on the rice harvest of finishing, and so however many villagers are in that village, they are going to assess, okay, who has already finished, who is still like finishing. And because everything is done by hand, like harvesting the grains and everything, we actually have like a village leader. So he serves as like somewhat of a mayor, and he oversees like, okay, this is when everyone is pretty much going to be done. So I am going to set this date for the next 3 days that, you know, once every family in the village is completely done with the rice harvest. And it's not just like waiting for like the family to say, hurry up, y'all are holding up the New Year festivities. We also jump in, hands on deck, and help those families finish. So that way we can celebrate. And the mayor, the head leader of the village can say, okay, now everyone is going to be done. We're going to set aside 3 days where all we're going to do is just celebrate. There are a lot of the times for New Year celebration is because it's a time of celebration and performing our traditional cultural arts practice, whether it's singing poultry songs to playing the traditional bamboo instrument called the peng. A lot of courtship takes place with the singles. So the single guys and the single ladies, they meet and greet, and they toss this, like they do this courtship game where they stand on, all the guys stand on one side, and across from them, the ladies stand across, and they toss the ball back and forth. And they have contests. Whoever drops the ball, then they have to give a piece of item, personal item, and usually it's clothes, but it doesn't get too crazy where it's like, but it's a form of like, you know, just like exchanging fun. And a lot of the times after the New Year celebrations, marriages take place. So that's kind of like how we know. And you're thinking, you know, like, okay, 3 days, the village head mayor said that, but throughout the country of Laos, it's not all the same time. So that's why it's the whole month that we're celebrating. And does that answer your question for you? I'm sorry? Yeah, so it does vary dates. So it's not set on a specific date like how New Year's Day is. It's set by the head of the village. It's also by harvest, yes. 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 It's over usually multiple days. Here in the U.S., it's just the weekend, so it's usually Saturdays and Sundays. Now, I take that with the assumption. So with the assumption that Fresno, California, if you ever have a chance, in December, every year in Fresno, California, usually after Christmas, they host the largest New Year, not only just on a national level, but an international level here in the U.S. And it's a full week-long celebration. So Fresno, California, they celebrate the New Year where they have Hmong visitors, not only across the U.S., but all over the world. Like Hmong people from France come, Hmong people in Australia, even in China, Southeast Asia. There are Hmong people in South America, French Guyana, and then there are also Hmong people in other European countries besides France. So I have discovered there are some in Germany, Poland, Switzerland, even in Holland. That's the beauty of YouTube. They have been able to document their life in those countries. So it's really brought us like closer to see the difference of like how they have chosen to, instead of coming to the U.S., have found themselves in those other countries.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Let's give a